This is from National Review. Lawyer for pregnant NYC nurse involved in bike feud vows to sue media for defamation. Can I give you money, sir? I know they have a GoFundMe for her, but I would provide some money for a lawsuit against the media for lying. The lawyer representing a pregnant New York physician assistant whose confrontation with a group of black men over a rented bike led to her suspension from the hospital plans to sue media outlets that cast her as a racist thief. Sarah Jane Comrie got into an argument last week with a few young black men who claimed she was stealing a rental bike they paid for. Video went viral, this we know. She then released receipts. NBC News reviewed them too. So now they've been reviewed by everybody, and they've all confirmed it. Yep, that was her bike. They even gone so far as to say you can't rent the same bike out in rapid succession, meaning the only way she had the receipt is if she was the one who was trying to get the bike in the first place. These dudes were trying to rob her, and the media attacked her. Ben Crump, you got to sue. What's this guy's name? What's his lawyer's name?
Ben Crump?
No. This lawyer for Sarah Comrie. Justin Marino, you got to sue Ben Crump.
Yep.
For defamation.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, so they say a few minor press outlets and the black men involved in the altercation claimed that Comrie was fake crying and stole the bike. Multiple major press outlets also reported the video suggested she stole the bike. Some online figures disparaged Comrie as a Karen, a popular slang term for a white woman who feels entitled to special treatment. We are going to get an answer when we start filing defamation lawsuits, Marino told Fox News' Bill Hemmer. She's been called a racist, a thief. There are reasons defamation laws exist, and we plan to pursue that.
Well, there was a lot of the headlines on Twitter. It said appears to be stealing a bike, and it's like that word appears is literally it's like the shield preventing you from your libel from your lawsuit, right? So, like I said, no matter how much you hate the journalists, you don't hate them enough. You really should hate them more.
You cannot.
You can't
hate them enough. I love the Michael Malice quote about, the job will be done when the average journalist is looked at like a tobacco lobbyist. That's the respect they deserve. They're disgusting.
They want the race war.
Yeah.
It can't come soon enough.
The thing is, like, I know I talked about this on Twitter the other day. There was this in the NDAA of 2012, the Smith Modernization Act of 2012, that allowed the federal government to propagandize people. That coincides with the singularity of everybody having a cell phone in their pocket and having the internet connected to them. The media jumped at the chance to feed the people the story that the government wanted. And I can't, the reason that there's so many people that feel very homogenized one way is because the federal government has been shoving a narrative down our throats. Yeah. And it is reflected in the way the population looks at other people. You look at the way the left looks at the right, the whole, what was it? Not the disposables, the deplorables, and all that stuff that goes along with it. They're just, the race. They're all racist. They're all this. They're all that, and it's a narrative that is shoved down everyone's throat. Like we were talking earlier, all the magazines are the same. It doesn't matter if it's GQ or if it's Time or if it's Rolling Stone. They're all shoving the same message down their throat.
Teen Vogue.
The federal government. Exactly, yeah.
Giving young women communism since back for years now.
Exactly. And the narrative that's coming out of the federal government is, there's all these, the white nationalism is the biggest problem, and your MAGA neighbor is probably a racist that hates you, and et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. All of that is a propagandic message that is coming straight out of the federal government, directed at the left, because that's the quote unquote nice opinion, and it's also the one that actually empowers the government. So of course the federal government is going to promote a narrative that that says people should endorse what the federal government wants. Higher taxes and more power and authority to the federal government. So I think that has been a big part of the reason why everyone on the left seems to have the same opinion and knows nothing about the right. They don't know anything about independence. They only know that what the left has been told to think, essentially.
I think too, no one wants to talk about it, especially on the right, but there is 100% a racial caste system that currently exists in this country. I mean, this woman was villainized. She was called a burglar, every name in the book, right? Because she's the caricature of a Karen, which is a slur for white women who dare to, complain about the degeneracy that they see in their communities. that just, say, I don't want it to be this way. And I think they tried to Daniel Penny her. They really did. They tried to throw her under the bus. She was fired from her job, or I think placed on leave from her job. And the media came after her. And you know who wasn't doxxed? The people who attacked her. Yeah. I mean, it's just totally backwards. The media is out there defending criminals, lawless gangs, just that are running the streets. And I think our law enforcement, too, you're seeing selective enforcement here, right? You have people that are allowed to behave in a criminal manner, and then you have people who aren't. And often that is whether you are right or left leaning.
And what does it matter when the DAs won't prosecute anyways on a lot of these crimes? Doesn't matter.
No, it's crazy. I mean, we used to arrest people for disturbing the peace, and now if you walk around, no, we did. Now if you walk around DC, now if you walk around DC, there are homeless people screaming and harassing you at almost every corner.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That is interesting. I was looking at these photos. We were in Atlantic City, and they have these photos all on the wall at this one. Where this place that had photos on the wall, and you could see everybody wearing a suit. Like, it's the boardwalk 1920 or whatever, and all the men and women are dressed up. And I was like, they're wearing 3-piece suits. The women are all wearing this crazy outfit. I'm like, that's kind of crazy. They would arrest you for disturbing the peace. Like, very rigid way of living. I'm not advocating for it, but I am saying we used to have a little bit more rules. And maybe we need a little bit more rules.
It's a slippery slope. You stop wearing the 3-piece suit out in public, and all of a sudden there's just crime going on in the streets.
You stop wearing the 3-piece suit, next thing you know is a dude taking a dump right there in the middle of the street.
That's
how they don't arrest these people.
Because you can't. Because they're mentally, they're mentally ill, and
they should be institutionalized.
Well, yeah, the state can't. At least at this point, the state can't just pick them up. So, I mean, there probably should be some kind of law that...
Even that I have a problem with. Because, like, look, the second you throw somebody in the system, let's not pretend like any of these institutions, as soon as they get the system gets a hold of them, it's very hard to extricate yourself from that environment because they're so corrupt. So, this came up a lot when they were talking about Britney Spears because she's still acting absolutely ridiculous. I'm like, it's her right to do that. She's not harming anyone. She's not making good decisions, but it is her right as an American citizen to make those bad decisions for herself. But the people that are doing these things in the streets are doing things that are harming other people. But I still would err on the side of caution of just throwing them in asylums, given that I don't know if that's the answer.
Yes, but hear me out. I have an idea. What if in San Francisco, if you are caught taking a dump outside, they put you on a boat and bring you to an island and then leave? So
an island maybe in the Bay of San Francisco.
I was thinking just prosecute them, but
I'm not saying any prosecution. I'm saying if you are caught defecating in the streets, they put you on the boat, they bring you out, they drop you off on the island, you're free to go.
They have it.
No. There's no incarceration. You're not locked up. We're going to drop you off right here, and that's it. No more words. I'm not here to insult you. We'll be on our way. And if you build a boat and come back from the island, then so be it. Otherwise, you're not locking anybody up.
You're
not depriving them of anything. If they don't live anywhere, if they're homeless with no jobs and they're taking dumps on the street, why should, in all seriousness, the question is this: why should we, as citizens and taxpayers of a city, tolerate people who aren't members of our community destroying our community?
Right.
Do we not have the right to be like, we are going to place you outside? Mm-hmm. You can always walk back in. We're not like, but if we catch you, we're going to remove you again. Because I know people who've gotten banned from cities. I've heard this. They were like, you're not welcome here and things like that. But we don't do it for people who are taking dumps in the street in San Francisco.
Yeah.
I assume they want that, though. Like, the government likes that it's happening.
They could arrest them, though, and prosecute them, but they won't prosecute them. And that's the big problem here, right? What are they doing with Epstein's Island? They could use that one.
There's Alcatraz is in San Francisco. Alcatraz, just right out there. It's already, there's buildings. Just don't lock them up, but there's already buildings. They can go inside. They get shelter from the rain.
But if we give them like a big enough island with like food and animals and stuff, it's like you have every chance to survive in this, and it's a mini exile. It's like mini. It's like you can always come back, just swim. I don't know, whatever. It's up to you. We're not telling you what you can or can't do. We're just leaving you here.
The island of Catalina off of San
Diego.
Yeah,
there's a fantastic reality show pitch in there somewhere.
I think we placed 100 homeless men on an island.
Look, if MILF Manor is a thing, then they could absolutely do this.
For the number of homeless people that are in I mean, just the greater San Francisco area, you'd need an island the size of like Oahu. Like it would have to be like a sizable island.
The question is it possible that what these people might need is actual hardship?
I mean, probably.
These are people who are in places where they have makeshift shelters, free everything.
They get money from the state.
They get money, and if they don't, people are giving them food. They're getting food somewhere somehow. So there's no requirements.
Yeah.
This isn't. It's enabling. It's not helping them. What if the one thing these people need is just to be in open land and say, figure it out, and then all of a sudden they're like, hey, I'm not getting food anymore. I better find food, and then it starts giving them responsibility and helping them, survive.
I'm not so confident that would work, but I do think that there is value to the idea that human beings are anti-fragile. So we respond well to adversity. Like literally our bodies need gravity for our bones to have the integrity to hold our body together. So like we need to go and exercise to keep our bodies in shape, and we need to have that resistance. We need to strive for things to feel like we are accomplishing things. Right. That's something that's important for human beings. So I don't know if I don't know that I agree that we should just go and toss them into the wilderness, but I do think that there is merit to the idea that human beings need adversity to flourish.
I agree.
The homeless problem is one of the hardest ones to discuss, right? Because it gets into the idea of body sovereignty. It gets into the idea of free will. But then you have to have these discussions where they say, oh, just throw them in a hotel. Just give them a hotel and everything will be fine. And the hotel is destroyed 2 days later. And it's one of the hardest ones to discuss because there really isn't a clean solution to any of it. Yours might be the cleanest solution to that type of thing, but that's just for the ones that are actually doing something that's harming the quality of life of somebody else. What about the ones that aren't? Like, what do you do?
Then what if we just say, like, we as a city reserve the right to remove people from our boundaries?
Yeah.
They will never do it.
I think the people in these cities like it.
I mean, I think the people in these cities aren't, most of the time they're not affected, right? Like, so
Right.
If there's like 1 million people in a city and there's 1,000 homeless people, that's a lot of homeless people, but it's not enough to have a negative effect on everybody's life every day enough where they're going to be like, hey, this is a big deal.
That's one of the things I said in LA is I saw this guy he was clearly disabled. He's driving a little scooter thing. I couldn't tell if he was paraplegic, quadriplegic, but he couldn't use the sidewalk that was built for him in order to get down the street because there's literally so many encampments. So he's driving on the road and cars are like dodging him down 6th Street. It's just like, I thought you guys were about, caring for people that are disabled and et cetera, but you're not.
No.
Okay, here's another idea. What if we take homeless people that, like, after a certain amount of infractions, maybe 3, if they're sleeping outside and it's like, hey, you can't sleep outside, this is your first warning, don't do it again. Then we catch them like defecating. It's like, look, this is your second time. Third time, you know what's going to happen. Third time, they get placed in government housing where their food and shelter is taken care of. They will be clothed and fed, but they have to do work that we prescribe, and they're not allowed to leave.
3 square meals a day. I've heard of a place like that.
I know. I do. I mean, there's...
How about if someone takes a crap on the street, we prosecute them and put them in jail?
You think?
You think so, right?
What do you think?
I mean, absolutely, yeah. That would be ideal, but unfortunately that's not the way that our society or legal system is currently running. And I think people have come to accept this as the new normal.
Yeah.
I mean, so many young people that I meet in DC and cities like Chicago or New York, they don't know any different. This is
LA
what they're
too.
used to.
You see,
That's so sad.
At the Oscars this year, like they just put up big fake walls so that you couldn't see the homeless people while the celebrities were walking down the.
That is the that is the grossest thing.
It's the most NIMBY thing in the world.
It is so gross.
They just clear them out for a couple of days. They're like, you can come back after the event.
Yeah.
That's the
You know what I think benefited me greatly as a kid is that I went to Catholic school from kindergarten. I was homeschooled. Then I went to Catholic school from kindergarten till 5th grade. Started 6th grade at public school. Those kids in public school did not know it was possible. The kids at the Catholic school I felt were very like hoity-toity and like very high-strung. But at the Catholic school, everything's more ordered.
Yep. I went
Clean.
to Catholic school from kindergarten until 7th grade. 7th grade.
So there's a lot of people who don't know that things can be really, really good. They've never experienced it. They don't know it's possible.
Well, yeah, if you're born into that environment, you just adjust to it accordingly, and then you never really look outside of that. They talk about a lot of people who grew up in inner cities who never travel more than a couple blocks from their house. They've never seen any, and that's something you could get away with in a car, right? Like they could drive to get there, but they don't drive. They've never owned a car. They've never been someplace other that shows them that there's more things that are possible. That's kind of where, in a lot of ways, I feel like a lot of that, how we talk about going away to college, like that's what that's become for a lot of kids. Like they get a scholarship because they want to go away and experience something different. Of course, colleges now are not exactly what they used to be, but a lot of people they never learn that there is a world outside of what they're used to.
Yeah.
Yep. And then what ends up happening is they keep voting for what they think is the only thing. Right. It's the funniest thing to me. We had Lance on, and the conversation around Daniel Penny, and I don't know if it was him, but it might have been AOC saying something like, the right keeps blaming mental illness for all these things when the Republicans defund these mental illness, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what Republican is running New York City? This is run by, like, all of these issues, Black Lives Matter, police, it's all Democrat cities. It's the craziest thing to me. When they're like, we want to defund the police, I'm like, yeah, okay, y'all are in a Democrat city. Defunding the police is no issue, it does nothing to my sheriff's department. I don't care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The left is complaining about what they voted for. It is the craziest thing.
It's wild.
They're in Democrat-run cities complaining about problems that are born of their policies. Yep. It's like watching a toilet get flushed. And I'm just sitting there being like, there it goes.
Yeah, man.
It's just spinning around and around and around. They keep doing the same thing and then complaining about it.
I remember arguing with kids in LA that were saying like, "Oh, there's all these Republican senators, these Republican congressmen." Like, there's numerous senators. Do you understand how many there are? Like, you don't have any idea.
It's like, dude, you're in LA.
Yeah, you're in California.
The senator can't change what's happening in LA. That's your city government.
People are so ignorant about about what they are upset about. Yeah, they have no idea that the most effective things that they can do are things that they do locally. The things that are going to have the biggest impact on their daily lives are going to be things that they, can do locally. Joe Biden is not going to be able to do anything and isn't interested in doing anything to make your life better. Like, not at all. So, and I really wish that you could get people to, like, not just hear that, but actually internalize it and be like, all right, if I want my life to be better, I have to do things, whether it be acting locally or maybe it's taking some agency in your own life and going out and trying to do some stuff. There's a lot of people that have rough lives, but they also get so wrapped up in the fact that their life is rough that they feel like they can't do anything about it. So if you feel like you have no agency and you can't do anything, you're not going to try.
In Minnesota, post George Floyd, in Uptown, a lot of these places were the same ones that held events advertising defund the police, which leads to a lot of lawlessness in the city. And what would happen is graffiti would be put up on all of the buildings, all of the shops in Uptown. And then the city would come through and they would say, you need to clean this up in the next 7 days, or we're going to clean it up for you. And we're going to charge you $700, $800 to do it. And of course, because, the cops have pulled back because of all of the negative press that's going on at that time, graffiti goes up. They get hit with a $700 fine when somebody has to come clean it up for them. And it never seems to make it to their brain that you voted for the policies that are enabling you going out of business. They don't understand that because I don't know if they think that deeply beyond just either whatever the wedge issue is and whatever the emotion that very skilled politician has been able to do in making you feel angry about it.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.